What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Watchtower podcast, the non-Jehovah's Witness Watchtower podcast. Glad you guys could be here. This is episode 102. It is movie night. No, we're not actually going to be watching a movie, but we are going to be discussing some stuff involving the movies. So it's going to be a tinfoil hat episode. Every once in a while, I like to do these. Just take a look at the deception going on. I'm not straying away from what we normally do, which is watching the prophetic signs and everything like that. This stuff does pertain to that. It is not necessarily talked about all too much, but it plays a big part in what we've got going on today as far as deception. So we're going to be taking a look at some of that. But before we get into the movie stuff, we've got some other stuff as well as there's the border protection bill that's going on. Well, what they always like to do is they like to slide things in that aren't good. So we're going to be talking about that. And then also I've got some stuff as far as a new tool from the WEF and the UN. It's a Global Health Equity Network. So we're going to be talking about that as well to give you guys some information as far as that goes. But before we do that, we got housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
No, thank you. Sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Alrighty. As far as housekeeping, not a lot to talk about, really. If you guys can, usual spiel, like, share, and subscribe. If you guys can get this out to as many people as you can, that would be awesome. It is not about butts and seats. It's not about views, but it is about getting the warning out to people about what is going on in the times we live, as well as getting people to Jesus and Jesus to people, as JD would say. That's what we do. That's why we do this. That's the whole focal point, is for Jesus and getting people to him, because right now, guys, we are at the finish line. So if you guys can, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff. And then if you want to, follow me, Rumble, Odyssey, and Telegram as well. Rumble and Odyssey are my backup channels when YouTube inevitably boots me off. Honestly, I'm shocked that they haven't done it yet. That is not a challenge, YouTube. Don't do that to me. But yeah, if you guys want to, follow me, Rumble and Odyssey. And then Telegram as well for anything up-to-date news stuff, announcements, hymns, funny stuff. I put it all on there, so it's all good. It's a good time on there as well. So follow me on there if you would like to. And then also, I might as well just go ahead and let you guys know, I was on with Tom Hughes. I had the absolute honor and privilege to be on there. I can't believe I was asked to do that, which it's mind-blowing. But yeah, I was on there, and he just posted that to his YouTube today. So if you want to check that out, head on over to Hope for Our Times and check that out. And check out all his other stuff if you guys don't know Tom Hughes. I'm sure you guys do. But if not, for the one person that just finally peeled themselves out from underneath the rock, go check out Tom Hughes. Yeah, that's all I got as far as that goes. So it is Tuesday, so what we do is we kind of keep track of what is going on as far as natural events. I don't get heavy into it like some of these meteorologists do, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a news guy. But we just kind of keep track of some of the big earthquakes going on and how many volcanoes are erupting each week. So some quakes this past week. There was a 5.5 in Hiifo, Tonga, 5.3 in Dali, China. There's a 5.5 in Mbunti, Papua New Guinea, 6.2 in Nanao, Japan, 5.6 Wakatani, New Zealand. Carly, you're going to have to correct me on that. That's your area. Then there's a 5.6 in Nanao, Japan again, 5.9 quake in Mutsu, Japan. Japan was kind of rocking this past week. Then there's a 5.2 in Petropavlovsk, Kamchatsky, Russia. First try. There we go. 5.9 quake in southern East Pacific Rise. So that's what we got going on as far as larger quakes and whatnot. And then as far as volcanoes, we've got 41 volcanoes that are actively erupting right now. That is down 1 from last week. 7 in North America, 6 in South America, 1 in Europe, 3 in Antarctica, 4 in Africa, 13 in Asia, and 7 in Oceania. So seems the volcano stuff is kind of just just chilling out in those low 40s. Not really a whole lot going on. There was a period about 6 months ago where it was going berserk as far as volcanoes, but it seemed to have calmed down since then. So, all right, that's it for natural events. Glad you guys are stuck with me through that. So, so before we get into everything, I am going to see how you guys are doing, because I like to see what you guys are up to. Now that everybody seems to be kind of here, everybody's in the moment. Let's check this out. I'm going to pick a random spot. If I don't pick you, it's not because I don't like you. It's just because there's so many people. So we're just going to start here with Coco Bear. How you doing, Coco Bear? Glad you are here. We've got Sailing WJ. Hey, not of this world. So, all right, cool. I don't think I've seen you here before, so it's great to see you. We've got Patricia Schultz. Good to see you. A lot of prayers going out for RW. I'm not exactly sure what's going on with that, but please keep her in prayer. Also, keep people in New Zealand in prayer. We've got some of our family who are dealing with severe weather, flooding, tornadoes, all that stuff. Keep them in prayer. And then one of my other mods, who's a part of the toolbox here, Kim, she is also dealing with massive weather issues, and it knocked her internet out, so she's not here. So be praying for each other, guys. Be praying for each other. There's a lot going on. Barry Burkholder is here. We serve an awesome God. Amen. I agree. Yes, we do. An amazing God. Liz W., good to see ya. Looks like Betty Lou. Hey, Betty Lou. Good to see ya. Lisa's here. Hi, Mom. How you doing? Then we've got Rev. Rev is here as well. Good to see you, Rev. Trish is here. She is super excited that Peach is here, as we can see. So we've got Shosho is here as well. Of course, Carly, one of my toolbox. Not of this world. Just Vicky. We've got Joey, Foxy Fair, Lori, Sherry, Peach. Good to see you guys. Glad you're here. So again, if I can't get you, sorry, there's just so many people I can't do it. So, but glad all of you guys are here. Definitely, I appreciate you guys. So, all right, let's go ahead and get into this. Enough dilly-dallying around. We've got some stuff to get to, a lot to get to. So I don't want to keep you guys here all night. We've got work tomorrow. So let's start with this border bill. Start what's going on with the border stuff. As we know, Title 42 is coming to an end, and they're trying to get a new border bill through to basically reinstate or re-implement Trump's Remain in Mexico program. This latest bill, the H.R. 2, which is Secure the Border Bill, contains 8 bills in one, which whenever they do something like that, that's usually they're trying to hide something, which they are this time, and we're going to go over that. So if you look at it, there's a catch. The border is being used to bring in more policy that will play a part in total control. Now, remember, something I always talk about, there is a game being played. It is the political game. It's where each side is throwing out narratives that their sides like to hear, and they're using it to bring in policy and change that is no good for anybody. I've already talked about how some conservative states are bringing in online protection bills for children to make sure that they don't stumble into adult websites, but pretty much what it is a way to hide a digital ID program where everybody in that state, in order to protect the kids, which we know that's not something that they do, but in order to protect the kids, they're implementing digital online verification stuff for you to access social media and other sites and stuff like that. Basically what it is it's a forced program to get you on digital ID. Well, they're kind of doing the same thing with this. The border bill will reintroduce Trump's E-Verify system that will require businesses to run all new hires through the federal E-Verify system to confirm their immigration status. So in order to protect the border, in order to make sure that illegals aren't taking away American jobs, they are going to force all businesses to run new hires through the federal database to confirm immigration status. Now, you look at that, and a lot of people are going, well, it's to protect the border. It's to make sure there's none of the... Well, actually what it is it's a subtle way to bring in a program where they can just turn anybody's job status on and off based on whatever qualifications and specifications that they want. It's not good. This is a way to snake something in. You always have to watch for stuff like this. This is essentially an on and off switch that they can change requirements at any moment. I mean, at this moment, they can say, well, as long as you're not an illegal immigrant, you're good. Well, tomorrow it could be, well, you haven't taken your vitamins that we have forced on everybody, so you can't get a job. You see where this goes? Slippery slope. It starts at one place, then it keeps on going. So adding to it, making sure I didn't skip anything. Adding to it, you have the photo ID, of course, that is required, but the bill makes vague reference to 2 pilot verification processes that are not photo related. So that means there's going to be other verification qualifications that you have to meet that aren't just a photo ID. E-Verify comes with the NIST, which is the National Institute of National Institute of Standards and Technology. This is their system. This is their program. So if we look into that and we look into their documents, we can see that the 2 pilot programs are biometric verification and access to your bank account. Interesting. So if we take a look at this, this is straight from their website, the NIST website, which is a government organization that created the E-Verify system. If you look there hidden in there, you will see the facial portrait or other biometric characteristics contain an identity evidence is compared to an automated biometric comparison system to the facial image photograph of the live applicant or other biometric live sample or other biometric live sample. Vague. Are we talking facial recognition? Are we talking eye retina? Are we talking blood sample? Are we talking fingerprint? What are we talking here? We don't know. It just says biometric live sample. Dangerous, submitted by the applicant during the identity proofing event. Then if you go 1 point lower, control of a digital account. An individual is able to demonstrate control of a digital account, e.g., online bank account. Again, they like to play the game. No, it's just to protect the border. No. You're creating a whole biometric digital identity system with access to my bank account. That's what you're doing. But you're going to have a whole bunch, like I said, the political game, you're going to have a whole bunch of conservatives jumping on board for this bill to protect the border because just like the kids, the border is another point where conservatives they're blind to it. We need to do this. But that's how they snake this stuff in. And so right there, that is what this E-Verify system will become. And if you do not play the game, if you have a bad social credit score, they're going to bring that in. Also, because I know some people like to say, well, no, there's some last bastions like Florida and whatnot. No, there's not. E-Verify Florida is doing it individually. They're not even waiting for this border bill. Florida Senate passes bill requiring state employers with 25 or more employees to use the E-Verify platform effective July 1st. And from what I gather, Ron DeSantis is right on top of doing this. He's ready to sign it. Bada bing, bada boom. There it is. So, no. People that you think are good, states that you think are conservative, nope, they're going right in line with it. It's a hard truth, guys, but this is where we're at. This is where we're going. And so that's what they're hiding. That's what they're hiding in that border bill. So it's just another step. This is just, again, this is where we're going with the Antichrist beast system, guys. There's no fighting this. And I'm not, some people, whenever I say that, they're like, so you just want to lay down and die and let it. Guys, we know what's coming. We know what the Bible says. We know what it tells us. We know what's coming. We can't stop this. What we need to do is stand for righteousness on things that we can do, like, children, protecting the children. But something like this is going to happen. It's going to happen. And I know there's some people who, they get nervous, they get afraid. What are we supposed to do if this gets implemented while we're still here? The rapture hasn't happened yet, and we've got all this stuff. The Lord will protect you. The Lord's not just going to ditch us now. He's gotten us this far. He's not going to just leave us hanging on this. So he will protect you. Just pray and listen to his guidance. He'll tell you what to do. Don't worry. It's the same thing like if the CBDC came, which, again, I don't think that's going to be implemented until we're gone. But if it is, again, just trust in the Lord. He's going to take care of us. He's going to take care of us. And he'll take care of us with this too. So just something to keep in mind, guys. Okay, that's that. Now let's go ahead and move into what is going on with the WEF and UN tool that's been announced. It was announced a couple months back, but sometimes you just can't catch everything. But it is called the Global Health Equity Network, and this is this thing from January 2023. Global Health Equity Network. We're not going to read through this thing. It's long, it's boring, bunch of stuff that we don't need to listen to. So I'll just kind of give you a rundown, essentially what it is. Excuse me. All right. Basically, it's adding health equity to the ESG system. So it's not a brand new thing in itself, but it is adding to the already ridiculously stupid ESG system, which is basically a social credit score for companies and corporations and all that stuff. We've talked about it like crazy. We're not gonna dive into that. But this is adding health equity to it now. And if companies don't play ball, just like with everything else with ESG, their funding will be taken. So everybody's got an ESG score. You've got the companies that have it, and you have the investors that have it. If the investors invest in companies that push up the ESG system, then the investor score goes up. But if they do it with companies that aren't playing the ESG game, then their score goes down. So if the company is not going to play the ESG game, the investors are going to pull out because it's going to affect their score. See how that works? It's a great little scam system if you're not the one that has to be forced to do things. These companies will be forced to sign their pledge to the cult called the Zero Health Gaps Pledge. Now, I've got that as well, so we can check this out. Global Health Equity Network, the Zero Health Gaps Pledge. Man, that World Economic Forum tag is just on a lot of things, isn't it? This is also from January 2023, as you would expect. We take a look at some of this stuff. Again, we're not going to read through all those points. I'll leave it up. So if you want to take a screenshot or check it out on your own time, you can. A lot of it is just vague, general stuff that they usually talk about, but you can check it out. But basically what they're doing is you have to sign up on this pledge to basically say we are going to play game with the health equity parts of the ESG that's now being added. So if we take a look at some of these, hopefully you guys got your screenshot. If not, this video will be uploaded afterwards. You can take a look at it then. We're moving on. If we take a look at some of the people that have already signed this thing, there's some interesting names. I highlighted some that kind of stand out to me. American Cancer Society, American Diabetes Association, American Heart Association. I believe one of the co-chairs is from the American Heart Association. We will check that out in a second. Then we've got AstraZeneca, of course. We've got Big Pharma involved. Deloitte, I cannot pronounce that company name. I've looked it up before this and I already forgot it. That's just how I roll. I can't pronounce things. We're going to call it Deloitte. Then there's Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. If you guys don't know who that is Bill Gates. Global Partnership Forum, of course. We've got John Hopkins. They're involved with anything in World Economic Forum. Of course, they're a partner with them. Ochsner Health, Pfizer, Planned Parenthood, and a bunch of other ones which are no good as well. They have all signed up to be a part of this, with more coming on board. Of course, this is trying to create a global healthcare supply network and a chain, basically placing a chain upon global health companies. So if you're not going to play ball with the WEF and what they want to do with the health stuff, we know the UN, WHO, pandemic treaties coming up. If you're not going to play game with that, well, prepare yourself to not be around. That's what's going on with this. And of course, there's some partners with this thing. Take a look at some of these partners. Yeah, Heart Association, Deloitte, whatever. Harvard University, Global, Kaiser Permanente, CVS, you just take a pick. AstraZeneca's there. UNICEF, of course. Even Philips is there, of course. Salesforce, interesting. BP as well. That's interesting as well. We got gas going on in there. There's a couple more. Boston University, Planeter, Johnson & Johnson, Colgate, Palmolive, Global Fund. Yeah, there's a lot there. There's a lot there. All right, here we go. So those are some of the people partnered. Those are some of the people that signed on with it. Again, basically what they're doing is they're preparing for that WHO pandemic treaty. If you're not going to play game with the new global health government that's being created, don't plan on being a healthcare provider anymore. That's basically what they're trying to accomplish through this. And of course, where does this come from? Because it always has to stem from somewhere. Well, of course, it comes from the UN SDGs, which is the Sustainable Development Goals. If you don't want to hear it from me, you can hear it from the big shot of this Global Health Equity Network. Check this out.
This is a core element of stakeholder capitalism, the business community demonstrating that we're part of the solution and that we're taking action relative to the commitment to make good on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Now, the words are the easy part. So then the question is, well, what specifically can businesses do? We are pleased with the momentum and the number of organizations that have already signed up. It's not enough. And so we're going to be focused on expanding that ecosystem that we're creating. We need to develop measurement mechanisms so that we can actually quantify individual companies' health equity footprints. And with measurement, then allows for setting goals. It allows for accountability. And we're going to do this as a collective. No one has all the answers, but we're putting together the ecosystem to really be able to drive change at scale. And we are encouraged by the opportunity that's sitting here in front of us.
As it was said earlier by my colleagues, signing a pledge is not the end, it's the beginning.
Ooh, ominous. It's not the end, it's the beginning. I tend to agree with her. Well, it's going to be the beginning of, not the beginning, but one of the things that will be a part of the beginning of hell on earth for those left behind. But for us who have Jesus Christ, no, we're going to skip it. I don't feel like dealing with that, so we're going to escape. That's why we've got Jesus. He cares about us. He's going to take us out of here. But for those left behind, yeah, that's not good. So who these people are, the people who are talking, the bigwigs there, these are the co-chairs of the GHEN. You have Joe. I am not even going to attempt to say his last name. For those who like to laugh at my pronunciation, not going to happen. Global CEO of Deloitte. Again, I'm not pronouncing it right. It's just how I roll, sorry. You can read it, though. But yeah, you can see he's the Global Chief Executive Officer there. Then you've got Michelle Williams there, who is the Dean of Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. And then Nancy Brown, CEO of American Heart Association. So those are the top dogs of this new system. Isn't it great? Doesn't it look wonderful? No. I'm not with that. So, but they're talking about the SDGs. Now, we've talked about this before, the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. They were brought in 2015, a part of the Agenda 21, Agenda 2030 program. Mix and match, you get it. The climate agenda has been around much, much longer, though, and has been pretty much the main deal for forming a global government. And I'm just going to go ahead and pass it off to the Club of Rome.
The Club of Rome then held a press conference where they announced that the computer had predicted that the world was heading for a disaster.
From a very large number of computer runs, making various assumptions, adopting various maxima and minima, there is in fact a general forecast of a breakdown of world society in the first decades of the next century. We regard the MIT report as an extraordinarily important initial pioneering effort. It's opening up a great new field of research on the world as a system.
The Club of Rome published a book called The Limits to Growth, which laid out Forrester's world model and its frightening conclusions. It was a bestseller, and it transformed the debate about the environment. Because Forrester's model offered a way of conceptualizing the problem that seemed to be scientific and therefore neutral. His vision of the world as one interconnected system seemed to transcend politics and the petty interests of nations. Then, in Stockholm in 1972, the United Nations held a conference for the first time ever on the world environmental crisis. And the international bureaucrats who ran it turned to this idea of the world as a system to provide the conceptual framework. The world needed to be managed in a new, non-political way to avoid the threat of global collapse.
Now, this is the beginning of a debate. Nobody's decided precisely what the limits are. One can question whether it's 2010 where we all collapse or 2050 when we all collapse. But what is absolutely certain is you cannot run a planetary society on the total irresponsible sovereignty of 120 different governments. It simply can't be done.
You know, I find it interesting where she said 2010 or 2050. Well, 2030 falls right in the middle of that. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, so that was the Club of Rome and the UN back in 1970s that they were basically pushing this climate agenda is going to be the main focal point for getting this one world system into place, which of course we know the one world system will eventually become the Antichrist beast system. But yeah, I mean, but that was back in the 70s. And again, it's 2030 lands right dead center in those, between those two dates that she said. So it's very interesting how that works. But of course, you've got none other than Uncle Klaus Eat the Bugs, who likes to take credit for the Club of Rome as well. This is from his own words.
I've worked on climate change for 25 years.
I worked on climate change since 73.
So you
just to
worked on
tell
it
you,
longer than
because
I have.
I was the person who gave the Club of Rome the first big platform. I share with you the concern, and I think we can solve those issues only if we repair our global architecture and our global system.
Architecture. Yeah, so of course he's got to take credit for that. So just yeah, something to keep in mind, guys. Remember, there is shadow guys above Mr. Klaus there too. Mr. Klaus, I'm not downplaying it. Dude's powerful. He's got a lot of stuff going on, but remember, there are other people sitting above him controlling all this as well, and people that we have no idea even exist. That's just how this rolls. Yeah. So as you can see, though, what we're seeing now is just the progression, this global health equity network, a part of the ESG stuff attached to the SDGs, which is attached to the Agenda 2030, which is attached to Agenda 21, which is attached to what the Club of Rome and the UN were doing back in the 1970s. It's all just step-by-step progression. And right now, what we're doing, I mean, we've seen all this stuff be in the works. We've seen it all coming right now. But what we are seeing now for the first time ever in the history of ever is the converging of all this stuff at the same time. And that's why when we look, that's why we watch these stuff so intently, and we understand that we're in the season of the rapture, because for the first time ever, and you have to remember, 1948, when Israel became a nation in one day, that prophecy was fulfilled. That was the trigger point. So anything after that, that's when we need to start watching this stuff. And for the first time ever after that, and even before that, first time ever in history, ever, I'll say it one more time, ever, this stuff is all converging at the same time. And so this is why we watch these signs. This is how we know we're in the season. Of course, everybody likes to say, nobody knows the day or the hour. You're right, nobody does. But we were told that for those who watch for his return, watch for his, the signs of his return, that we'll know the season. And guys, we're in the season. He's going to come and snatch away his bride. And I cannot wait for that. So that's why we watch this stuff. That's why we look at these things. That's why we watch things like the Club of Rome from 1970. It's just, it's amazing to see the progression that we're seeing right now. And it just goes to show all the more ever the power of Scripture. It's never been wrong once. It's not going to be wrong now. And all this stuff that we're seeing come to fruition, all it was already told 2,000 years ago. It's just amazing. That's why we do this. So, all right, that's what I got as far as that. So we covered the border thing with the E-Verify system. No good, no bueno. And then we just covered the this new tool, part of the ESG stuff, the Global Health Equity Network, or GHEN. So that's something else to keep in mind. That's obviously going to play a part with the WHO pandemic treaty, along with the global shocks, the UN military blue helmet thing that we talked about last week. I think that was last week we talked about that. So there's a lot of preparation coming in place for this pandemic treaty coming up. So definitely something to pay attention to. All right, guys, we're going to do movie night. You guys ready for this? All right. Make sure, I'm going to give everybody enough time to go to their kitchen drawer, grab their tinfoil. You got to make your tinfoil hat, because it is time to get conspiratorial. All right. Yeah, in case you guys don't know, you know how I'm like always wearing a hat or like my bandana or something like that? Yeah, it's actually lined in tinfoil. So I'm just always wearing mine. So that's why you don't see it on top of my head right now. It's just my hat is lined with it. So that's why we got it. So, all right, let's start here. Let's start here with the latest news coming out about Epstein. I'm not sure if people have paid attention to this. I need to make sure I've got my stuff prepared. Where is it? There it is. Okay. So with the latest news about coming out with Epstein, there's a name that came with it, where there's some people who were basically a part of Epstein's schedule. So if we take this out, this came from the Wall Street Journal. I mean, it is the Wall Street Journal, but as far as I can see, they've pretty much got it right. So that's why we're going to talk about this. But from their private calendar, Epstein's private calendar, some names, including Goldman's top lawyer, CIA chief, and stuff like that. Some of the names were a Rothschild was there, William Burns, the CIA guy, Joshua Cooper Ramo, Noam Chomsky, and some other ones. But the name that interests me was CIA Director Burns. CIA Director Burns. So something that because I've done a lot of studying on Epstein, because as you guys know, every once in a while I do huge deep dives into trafficking and all that stuff. So Epstein always comes across, and I always end up doing a lot of research on him and everything like that. And the conclusion that I have come to, I'm not saying this is for sure, I just want to put my opinion right here. I believe that Epstein was a CIA agent, not in the way that you would see like in the movies and stuff like that, but I think he was a part of the CIA program. I actually do believe that. And so when it comes to controlling people, and this is why I think he's a part of it, when it comes to controlling people, getting them to do what you want and keeping them in check, blackmail and drugs are a key. CIA always has been involved with drug traffic or drug running and all that stuff, and they've been involved with trafficking and blackmail and stuff. That's what they do. And so when you look at Epstein, he takes care of both of those. He takes care of blackmail and drugs. Epstein was the perfect fish because he came from basically he owns blackmail on a lot of people. So if you are a pedophile trafficker and you deal with trafficking kids and getting people to your island and involved with these parties and stuff like that, you're going to get a lot of pictures and a lot of videos of people in various positions. And so you can use that if he's that type of person that's going to grab all that information and hold these people accountable, he will do it. And then he also, we know, has the young blood drug as well, because we know his ties to child trafficking. So that's why I think he's a part of this. Now, why am I talking about Epstein and all this stuff? Well, the connection to Burns puts that together. Doesn't surprise me that you would have the CIA guy involved with that. And then we also know that Epstein was heavily wrapped up in Hollywood. We know he was always wrapped up in Hollywood. A lot of his goons and stuff were involved. Harvey Weinstein was one, but there's a whole bunch in there. And so you've got the trifecta of Epstein, the CIA, and Hollywood. And we also know that the CIA was heavily involved with Hollywood. In case you didn't know, I mean, this is straight from the CIA's website. Entertainment inquiries. CIA is often featured in books, motion pictures, documentaries, and other creative ventures. Actors, directors, authors, etc. work with the OPA to better understand the CIA's intelligence mission. If you look at it, to achieve this goal, OPA's entertainment industry liaison works with creatives to make their scripts, stories, and other products as authentic as possible. The CIA entertainment industry liaison will help write scripts and make sure the story gets out there. So in case you didn't realize that, the CIA is heavily involved with Hollywood. So if you want to control the narrative, if you want to control the masses, of course, you know, that you start getting into the PSYOP stuff as far as this goes, they're going to obviously need to be in control of the biggest industry out there that will get these in front of people on screens and stuff. Everything we do now is in front of a screen, and they're involved with it. So it's a part of the PSYOP, it's part of the control. And so to desensitize the masses, to influence the masses, to maneuver the masses in the direction that they want to, you got to control the entertainment. Also, something else to keep in mind, we know Epstein was heavily involved with Disney, and we know that the CIA, they bought Disney all that land down in Florida. So, I mean, there's more of a connection there. So if we go back in history and we take a look at some of this stuff, we're not going to spend long in history, but we just want to go through a few things. The creation of the CIA was in 1947, and they were, well, that's what they say. I believe that the CIA was working before that. They just didn't have it written on paper, if you catch my drift. But they've been involved with Hollywood ever since. CIA even was involved with shows like Cupcake Wars, American Idol, and Top Chef. I am not kidding you. So why would they be involved with things like this? If you understand the push for things like the alphabet agenda and their ESG goals, they're going to start pushing it on these reality shows like that. The CIA, as a lot of people pin them as like this dark, covert, we're going to start killing a whole bunch of people type of thing. Well, they're just as influential as pushing alphabet and ESG as well. And so that's why they have influence in shows like that. And of course, there's the usual stuff like the heavy editing of films to make sure that there's not information getting out that they don't want. One of those would be like the Tears of the Sun movie, which was changed to make sure the U.S. wasn't viewed as the ones who caused the turmoil in Nigeria, because apparently that's how it was written, which that wouldn't shock us at all, of course. Then there was the 2003 Hulk film that was edited. This is interesting. It was edited so the experiment lab that created Hulk wasn't viewed as anything more than a civilianized lab, and the villain was made sure to be known as ex-military and not active. They made specific points in the script to make sure that there was a exclamation point saying he was ex-military, because they don't want the military guy to be the villain of that story. The name of the operation in the Hulk movie to catch the Hulk was changed from, it was originally Ranch Hand, but was changed to Angry Man, Operation Angry Man. Now, if they changed it for this reason, if you didn't know that Operation Ranch Hand was a real-life operation where the U.S. dumped millions of gallons of herbicides and poisons, including Agent Orange, on Vietnam and Laos in 1962 during the whole Vietnam thing. And so they didn't want that to be attached to the Hulk thing as well. So you see how they're trying to manipulate and edit things so people aren't being given the idea that, oh, the CIA is bad, the US is bad type of thing. That's what they would do. That's what they are doing with this type of stuff. So CIA controls Hollywood. So the CIA, of course, controls Hollywood. They control Epstein. They control agencies involved. This is where we're going to spend some time right here. This is very, very interesting. They control agencies involved like the CAA, or the Creative Artist Agency. Now, we're going to talk about this because something I always say is Satan's got a hold on these industries. Satan's got a hold on things like Hollywood and the music industry and the sports and I mean, of course, we know they've got the government and the news and stuff like that. But Satan's got a hold on this. And of course, CIA is fully, I mean, they are demonic like crazy. You can go back to Project Operation Paperclip and MK Ultra and all that stuff back then. We've talked about all that stuff. I'm not going to get into it. But I mean, Nazi experiments, demonic rituals and worship and all this stuff. This is where it all comes from. And so when you have the CIA influencing things like Hollywood and the music industry and the creative artist agency, you're going to see that Satan has a hold on it. And of course, that's going to start playing a hold in deception. I'm going to bring it back around to prophecy, guys. As I told you, this is important stuff. Tinfoil hat stuff. I mean, this is really, really what's going on. This is how we get to the point that we are. And so, of course, one of the first things that Jesus said on the Mount of Olives, Matthew 24, take heed no one deceives you. Before he even started on anything, he said, make sure nobody deceives you. This is one of the biggest deceptions out there. So the Creative Artists Agency. First discovered this when I saw a subpoena served, this was for the Epstein stuff, served to a man named Michael Ovitz, who was the co-founder of the CAA and a formal Disney executive. Whoa, okay, again, here we go. We got Epstein, who's connected to Disney. Now we've got this guy, part of the CAA, who's also connected to Disney. We know Disney is connected to the CIA. We know Epstein's connected to the CIA. It's all just, you see it? I hope you can see it. It's right there. They're all connected. It's like if you got the picture of on the wall and it's got all the red strings going to everything, that's basically what we're seeing with this. Everything is always connected, guys. I'm telling you. All right, straighten out the tinfoil hat. Let's start at the basics of the CAA. Man, that's going to be interesting to say a bunch of times. I'll tell you what. All right, let's start here with their About section. First, we always got to start just on their website before we go anywhere else. This is where we always start. We just got to see what they're pushing out. We're not going to read through this whole thing, but a couple things. Positioned at the nexus of talent, content, brands, technology, sports, and live events, CAA creates opportunities for the storytellers, trendsetters, icons, yada, yada, yada. Across film, television, music, sports, digital media, marketing, and beyond, we represent thousands of the world's leading actors, directors, writers, producers, musical artists, comedians, authors, athletes, coaches, broadcasters, teams, leagues, chefs, designers, fashion talent, consumer brand, and more. Something that they just happen to leave out there is politicians as well. Back in 2017, Joe Biden signs with the CAA. Why on earth would you do that? To amplify post White House initiatives. Then you also look at also in 2017, former National Security Advisor Susan Rice signs with the same talent agency as Biden. Interesting. Now, if we, again, take a little trip back into some historical video. It's movie night, guys. I told you. If we're going to take a look at some historical video, you'll see that there's a lot more to this. And I think it's better if I just show you. It's about a minute long. Check it.
People love to make a big deal out of an event like this. It's the Hollywood, Washington connection, West Coast, East Coast, whatever it is. People love to make a big deal out of it. And I think it's in part because of some of the similarities between your world and the political world.
I also want to say a special word of thanks to so many of you in this audience who worked for me in the last election, who made appearances for me, who helped to raise funds and helped to make arguments, and who stood up for me in the face of pretty wilting criticism. When I was upstairs meeting some of you, it was interesting to me what was mentioned going through the lines. Some people said, I'm really glad you fought so hard for NAFTA and passed it. Others said, I'm glad you're trying to get a new World Trade Agreement through GATT, but I'm glad you're fighting for the interest of the entertainment industry while you're doing it.
Whoops, I'm supposed to take that down. There we go. All right. Hello. I'm back. Okay. So yeah, there's a lot more to it than just what the website says. There's a lot of political influence involved with that. So we saw some of the cast of characters that were involved with that. Obviously, there's a lot more, but that's just what I've got for you as far as this goes. But if we take a look also more at their website, they've got some activism stuff that they're a part of. Who would have thought Hollywood and activism? You know, the CIA is involved with that too. Let's take a look. First things, the I Am a Voter videos. Do you guys remember those? Those things were just horrible. I mean, I'm not even talking about the content. I'm just talking about just how they were created. They're horrible. But it came from the CAA, created in 2018. And with the CAA as a founding partner, I Am a Voter. So that's a part of it. Then you look at their Full Story Initiative. This is where we start seeing some more ESG stuff because, as you can see, the Full Story Initiative provides infrastructure within the entertainment industry to encourage, more like force, more accurate portrayals of complex social issues in a historically underrepresented communities in television and film. So as we can see, there's more of the ESG, more of the equity, more of the inclusion, all that stuff. We take a look more at some of their stuff. The Social Change Fund United. As we can see, this is more for criminal justice, civic engagement, economic investment, arts and education for the racial stuff. Yeah, more of it. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Oh, yeah. They don't highlight these. These are just kind of hidden at the bottom. Roe v. Wade overturned. Now what? Because you know they're not on board for protecting children. We know that. Gun safety with every town. There we go with the guns. So we've got abortion, we've got guns, reproductive health, some more going in with that. Then we take a look, humanitarian efforts in Ukraine. Yeah, so we've talked about Ukraine, guys. I'm just going to kind of stop here for a moment. Ukraine was completely planned. We know that because back in 2014, one of the architects for this beast system coming about, Jacques Attali, in 2014, he said World War III was going to start in Ukraine. Yeah, that's interesting. Then you take a look at the fact of Russia signed a deal to be a part of the Fourth Industrial Revolutionary technology stuff in 2021, right before they went into the Ukraine. Some people want to say Russia's not a part of it. They fully are. Go check out my Tearing Down the Curtain episode if you don't believe me. But yeah, you're talking about the CAA who's involved with the humanitarian efforts in Ukraine. Well, one of the big guys who's been very vocal about it is Sean Penn. Well, Sean Penn's a part of the CAA Foundation. You can see there at the top picture. And he met with Zelensky and gave him an acting award in Ukraine. Well, supposedly in Ukraine. Who knows where they really are, right? That doesn't surprise me at all. Deception, deceiving. Take heed that thee not be deceived. I threw in the thee there, trying to sound a little bit more, I don't know, biblical, I guess. But this is where it's at, guys. It's just the CAA was involved with that. The CIA was involved with that as well. It's all connected. It's right there in front of us. Now, where's the CAA located? Well, of course, everybody knows their headquarters would be in Los Angeles, being it's a Hollywood thing, but they've got them all over. They got them all over the United States. They got them in the UK, Sweden, Switzerland, Germany, and they got a couple in China as well. But I thought China was against all this. No, again, Tearing Down the Curtain episode. Go watch it. China is fully involved with this too. It's all one big game. But the CAA is involved with that. But like I said, their HQ, their headquarters, is in Hollywood. And it's interesting. I'll just kind of show you. This is a top-down view. The Creative Artist Agency building. Very, very interesting positioning of the lawn there in the courtyard. I put a little reference on the right if you guys aren't sure of exactly what that is in the center of the courtyard of that building. Right there. It's right there. Also, if you take a look at the top, in between the curved building and the straight building, there's also another eye there in that lawn fixture as well. Yeah, that's Freemasonry right there. That's the all-seeing eye, or the eye of providence, Freemason Square and Comfort. This building is also known as the nickname of the Death Star. Yeah, that's interesting. It's right there, guys. You can't miss it. It's all over the place. I mean, it's you look at the building, the Pentagon building, that's, pentagram, same thing. You look at Lady Liberty, that's also a goddess of worship as well. I can't remember her name right off the top of my head, but I've talked about it before. It's all over the place. There's even a building, it's a Navy compound in the shape of a swastika as well. But yeah, it's right there. Freemasonry, the Eye of Providence, all that stuff. It's right there. Can't miss it. So we've looked at all that stuff. Let's take a look at some of their people that are signed under this company. Now, there's a lot here. I'm going to go quick through this, otherwise we'll be here forever. But there are some people that I want to point out. So just hang with me. Again, this video, you can replay it if you want to take a further look. But let's look at who's signed with the CAA. We've got Aaron Rodgers, quarterback, NFL, of course. Then we've got Amy Robach. She's a part of the news and all that type of stuff. Then there's Andrew Yang, more politics and all that stuff. Keep on rolling through. We got Ashton Kutcher, who seems to always be, I'm all for the good stuff. Well, he's a part of this too. Barbara Corcoran, pronunciation. She's there. Beta O'Rourke. Bill Mayer. Everybody wants to talk about how Bill Mayer just all of a sudden did a 180 on his belief systems. I wonder why. Let's see. Biz Stone, co-founder of Twitter. We got Brian Williams is there as well. Carla Harris is interesting. Morgan Stanley, part of Morgan Stanley there. Colin Kaepernick, no surprise there. Cynthia Marshall, who's the CEO of the Dallas Mavericks. So you've got the NBA there. Gary Sinise, again, somebody that he's super pro-military and everything like that. It's interesting. He's also a part of this as well. Take a look. James Cameron, James Corden, no surprise there. James Taylor, interesting. Kind of surprised to see him on there as well. Some interesting names there. Joe Buck, yeah, no surprise there. John Cleese, again, somebody who seems to be very outspoken about conservatism and all that stuff, but yet he's there. Jordan Peele, again, he's an activist for racism and stuff like that. We take a look here. Mark Cuban. Yeah, he's involved with a lot of things, if you guys don't know about that. Martin Eberhard, Tesla Motors, founder and former CEO of Tesla Motors. That's kind of interesting, ain't it? Let's take a look here. Who else we got? Oh, May Musk. That's Elon Musk's mom. She's also a part of this as well. That's interesting. Again, Ray Kurzweil, futurist, AI guy, talking about how we'll be able to live forever here in the 2030. That's very interesting as well. Let's take a look here. Robert De Niro, Robert Herjavec as well, major investor guy with all that. Rourke Denver, though, Navy SEAL commander. Navy SEAL, CIA, no surprise there. Samuel L. Jackson, what are you doing, man? What are you doing on there? Let's take a look here. Tom Hanks, everybody knows about pedo Tom Hanks there. Tony Hawk, going for the kids on that one. Tracy Morgan and Trevor Noah. Valerie Jarrett, Barack Obama Foundation. More of that. Now, this next one is interesting. Here we go. Yuval Noah Harari. What are you doing with the CAA, buddy boy? I'm just going to leave that one there for a second. I just want to let that stew. Because I'll be honest, I was taken back when I saw that. I was taken back. All right, let's keep it moving. We still got a few more to get through here. Let's see. Adam Schefter, ESPN. Admiral William Fallon, a military commander and cybersecurity expert. What are you doing with the Creative Artists Agency? That's kind of weird. Also take a look. Keep on going. Who was it that I wanted to show on here? I put it on here for a reason. Where's that? Guys, I don't... Oh, Amy Grant's on there. Anderson Cooper. Amy Grant. I mean, no surprise there, honestly. Yeah, just want to throw that out. Wow, it's no good when I'm getting confused by my own pictures. Moving on. Let's see here. Sorry, guys. It's been a long day. There was somebody else on here that oh, right there. Andrew Bush, economic futurist, first chief market intelligence officer for the U.S. government. Again, what are you doing on the CAAs, man? That's kind of interesting. Let's also keep moving. I put this on. You got Buzz Aldrin and Katie Coleman, some astronauts. You know, you go back to the case of, did we really go on the moon or not? Yeah, you're starting to see it now, aren't you? Starting to see it now. Let's see, we got two more here. Let's see, Jamie Foxx, the man who stood on the stage and declared Barack Obama as his Lord and Savior. Yeah, that wouldn't be an intelligent psyop in any way. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, I've did a thing on her. She's also a pedophile. Not surprised there. And then last one, JP Sears, that comedian YouTube dude that a lot of Christians like. Why on earth would you be on here, buddy? That's an interesting one. There's some names. There's some interesting names on there, guys. Now, I'm not saying all these people are CIA agents, so calm down. I'm not saying they're all CIA. But what I am saying is they are useless idiots for the CIA to use. And guaranteed a whole bunch of those people. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis, Tom Hanks, we know they got blackmail on those guys. Now, there was two names on there that I, of course, Yuval Harari, that's a big one. And then there's some intelligence guys and Ray Kurzweil and stuff. But there's two names I haven't shown yet that are interesting. One is on the list and one's not, but he's still a part of it. Now, one, there shouldn't be any surprise. Boom. The Bud Light boy is a part of the CIA as well. And just to get confirmation, if you go to his Instagram, business email is Stephanie, whatever her name is, at CAA.com. So no surprise there. People are still, go woke, go broke. No, that's not how that happens. It's ESG move. That's how it works. Now this one's going to be interesting, guys. He's not on their website, but if you go to his website for contact, tours and speaking engagements, CAA Creative Arts Agency for Jordan Peterson. Things that make you go, Yeah. Yeah, no surprise there on my end. I may be surprising some of you guys, though, with that one. Jordan Peterson, he's also a part of the CAA. Anybody really surprised by that one? I'm sure there's a few. But yeah, so again, I'm not saying all these guys are CIA agents, but what I am saying is guaranteed most of them either have a lot of blackmail on them, or they're doing it for money or other reasons, or drugs, young blood drugs. There's a lot of reasons why they would be a part of this, but they're all useless idiots to push along deception and the narrative through the CIA stuff. There's a big connection there. And now, I mean, there's even some stuff where they'll talk about it openly and publicly, but they kind of do it in a joking type of way. Because, of course, they want to keep you desensitized to it, but they always got to tell you that they're involved with it. This is a clip, and it was an interview from Ben Affleck about his CIA movie Argo, if you guys remember that. Check this out.
The themes of Argo is about storytelling and how powerful it is, from political theater to the way we kind of communicate to our children to the way that we inspire people, and it's interesting that Hollywood and the clandestine services are both spend most of their time convincing people that something that's not true is in fact true.
Are there many actors in Hollywood who also moonlight as agents, do you think?
I think there are probably quite a few, yes. I think probably Hollywood is full of CIA agents, and we just don't know it. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to discover that, this was extremely common.
Har. Joking. I just meant it as a joke. Da. I'm actually telling you that Hollywood is filled with CIA agents, though. That's what it is. And he's talking about, how Hollywood and CIA do the same thing. They build stories and narratives to confuse people, to push psyops. I mean, they openly admit it. It's right there. And so that's what we got going on. Whether it's blackmail, career status, money, drugs, all those people play parts in pushing the narrative that they want to push, whether it's a left-leaning narrative or a right-leaning narrative. Again, guys, I continue to talk about this because I really want people to understand they play both sides. They play both sides. They're going to tell you things that fit along with the narrative that you like to push something through. We just talked about those internet bills. We just talked about the border thing. How many conservatives are just not even looking at it going, we need to pass that because we need to protect the border. Hold on a second. Look what's involved with it. It's not good. And that's how they do these things. That's what they do. And they push it on both sides, just like the right side's got people too. Tulsi Gabbard's one of them. Just all of a sudden did a 180. Bill Mayer's another one that's doing it on the media side. Jordan Peterson, Elon Musk, all these guys. They say a lot of things conservatives like, but nah, they're still fully in it. I'm telling you guys. So this is what's going on with the CAA, the CIA, connection to Hollywood, Epstein, all that stuff. I think it's very interesting. I do. I think there's a lot of very interesting stuff in that. And guys, this does play a part in prophecy stuff. I know a lot of people don't want to talk about this stuff. Tinfoil hat, conspiracy theory, all that stuff. What does that have to do with Bible prophecy? Well, it has to do with the fact of we are being deceived in so many ways. And it's not just something as a flat out lie. It could also be something like predictive programming. Now, this is something that I love to look into. I love the psychology of this stuff. It's evil. Don't get me wrong. It's evil. Not sure what that says about me. I just like looking into it and how it's used. And predictive programming is one of them. Now, predictive programming can be something as simple as, like we saw with the White Noise movie, where basically the movie is about an event that actually happened, or that actually takes place after the movie came out. So we saw the White Noise thing, and then a year later, the Ohio train derailment came out. I mean, that was spot on the nose. But it can also be something where they're desensitizing you to certain technologies or policies or ideas that they want to introduce. And so they'll create a bunch of movies about that. That's why, have you ever seen Hollywood? They'll put out, like, one studio will put out a movie about this subject, and then the next studio in like a month or two puts out a movie about pretty much the same subject. That's what you're seeing with that. That's not a war between studios. They're trying to put an influence on something. So they can do it in a short period of time like that, but they can also do it over a long period of time where they just keep putting the same subject to get people desensitized to it, whether they want to get cozy up and warm with the idea so they'll accept it, or it could be something where it'll be called a conspiracy theory because, no, that's only something that happens in movies, but in reality it's actually something that's happening for us. And this is predictive programming. It's an interesting subject. There's many different ways they can take it. I think that's why I'm so interested in it. But it plays games on the minds in a massive way. And Hollywood is one of those big ones. Of course, they've got music and books and all that stuff as well. They've got the church as well. We talked about that on Saturday. Yeah, it's no good. But yeah, so it's all about getting people to either disregard or accept ideas and principles and become not numb to these things. So some movies that are revealing of things that we're seeing today, I want to go over a couple of them. This is not an end-all be-all list. There's a ton of them out there. You can go all the way back in history to do it, but these are just a few that I want to point out now that I think are interesting because we're starting to see them play out on an extensive level globally, not just here in the United States, but globally. Now, first movie I want to point up is Eagle Eye. I'm not going to lie. Some of these movies are really good. Like, I enjoy them. I will sit down and watch them. I actually own this movie because it's a good movie. But it's straight propaganda and predictive programming. That's just what it is. As long as you're aware of it, even then, I still don't recommend watching it. But I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I will tell you straight up. Like, I enjoy this movie, but it's definitely predictive programming, and it's not good. It's not. So if you guys don't know Eagle Eye is about an AI intelligence system that blackmails and threatens people into doing things to wipe out the entire leadership group of the United States government and to install a new leader that fits the AI standards. So how this movie works is there's an AI system called Eagle Eye that basically monitors every single camera, microphone, anything that can watch, listen, track. I mean, it can even read vocal tone vibrations off of like a coffee mug, so it can register what you're saying around the world. It can do it all around the world. And then this thing basically just took over on its own, saying that the U.S. government wasn't holding up to the U.S. Constitution, which, I mean, that's true. Can't blame it for that. And so its goal is to blackmail two specific people to do things, and it can always watch and listen and make sure it's going on, to do things to implement the systems that it's wanting to do, which is basically take out the U.S. government. And so what we're seeing with the development of AI, what we're seeing with the development of surveillance state, what we're seeing the combination of AI and surveillance, this is something that we're seeing now taking place, and it's going to continue to progress. Now, what I'm saying, I'm not saying that AI is going to become sentient and start taking people out, but we do know AI will definitely be possessed by demons when that time comes. Whether they are now or not, that's up to whatever you guys believe. But we know that's going to play a part. So Eagle Eye is one of those movies that came out in 2008, and we're seeing it. We're seeing it develop. Another one came out in 2004, which is I, Robot. I'm supposed to have this ready, but I did not. Will Smith. Will Smith is also on the CAA artist thing, by the way, if you didn't know that. But I, Robot 2004, AI system Vicky becomes sentient. It's always about AIs becoming sentient. I think that, again, that's warming people up to the idea of, if you don't, those left behind are going to think AI has become sentient, but in reality, it's demonic possession. But basically becomes sentient and is able to control all of the AI robot workers and begins a siege on humanity. So this thing, basically, it's not full-on surveillance like in Eagle Eye, but how this thing works is AI has control of the AI robots that are actually walking around society. And so we're seeing a lot of things being taken over by AI. We're not necessarily seeing AI robots like that, but we are seeing a lot of different programs being taken over by AI. And so that is playing a part in that. And then you've got the central AI system, of course, sentient, demonic possession, that type of thing. So there's a lot of the AI stuff that's getting pushed through that direction. Now, another movie from 1998, not so much on the AI, but surveillance, Enemy of the State. Basically, Enemy of the State, 1998. After a government official finds out that his political murder was videotaped, the government group uses the surveillance state tracking technology and financial lockdown on the man that they believe has the tape. We're talking about full-on surveillance state. This is in 1998 that this took place, that this came out. And this is, again, full-on just preparing you for what society was going to start happening within 10 years. I mean, 1998, you go to 2008, and we were seeing this stuff become widespread, this surveillance stuff. They've got the satellite stuff. They've got all the different cameras. They put little tracking things on there. They've got cameras all over the place. They took over the dude's bank account. They flushed his bank account so he had no money. They used blackmail to make sure that he was posted places and he wasn't able to get jobs. He was fired from his job because of this type of blackmail that was pushed out. I mean, this was way ahead of its time in 1998, and we're seeing a lot of that now with conservative groups, where if you don't play ball, they're blackmailing people, they're wiping accounts away, they're doing all this stuff, plus the surveillance of it as well. So this is definitely predictive programming as far as that goes. A couple more. We got 3 more. It gets interesting from here. Smart House from 1999. This is a Disney movie. Now, you're probably thinking, the dude has lost his mind. The tinfoil's a little too tight. It's not. Smart House from Disney. This movie is about an AI-controlled house that watches, listens, studies, collects DNA, and learns about those who live in it. This thing is a full-on AI automated house that's able to, it watches everything you do, it studies you, it learns you, and it picks up your patterns. And it's also able to project itself as a hologram as well. I mean, this thing actually goes further, in my opinion, than the other movies that we talked about. And this is a Disney movie from 1999. This is the Internet of Things technology. This is the Internet of Things technology that we're seeing that's being created for the 15-minute cities and the climate lockdowns and the digital twins and all this stuff. That's what this movie is pushing. It's learning you. It's getting to understand how you talk, how you think, what you like. It's able to create, basically, if it had that ability to create a digital version of you, and we know that's what's going on with this Internet of Things technology right now. It collects DNA. And this thing knows more about you, including what's going on your insides, than you know about yourself. I mean, there's a scene in the movie where you literally put your finger on a fingerprint sensor, it takes a blood sample, and it learns everything about what's going on the inside of you. That was in a 1999 Disney Channel movie, and they put it there. You want to talk about getting the kids prepared for what's coming and what's going on. That's right there. That's no joke. Disney, CIA, again, anyone really surprised? Let's take a look. We got 2 more, or 3 more actually. This one's interesting as well. In Time. Now, this one doesn't get talked about a lot. People, when they talk about predictive programming, they really talk about The Matrix, and they talk about Eagle Eye and stuff like that, iRobot, usual stuff. In Time's an interesting one. In Time is about a society that lives on time. Your lifespan only lasts as long as the timer on your arm. So if you look at that screen, he's got green numbers on his arm. That's his timer. And you only last as long as that shows. Time is also the currency. Digital currency, but time, your lifespan. You're paid in time, and you pay for things in time. So basically how it works is if you're given, if say you've got 100 minutes on your arm, and you will live only for 100 minutes. And so as time ticks, so does that. But if you want to buy something that's, say, 5 minutes, you then buy that thing, and it takes 5 minutes off your lifespan. It's interesting how that plays. There are also districts. So there's another aspect to this that's very interesting. There's also districts that in order to enter, you must pay a hefty fee, which creates a caste-type system, where you can only enter certain districts when you have enough time. And so the more time you have, there's people that have like infinite amount of time, they will live forever. And everybody is always the same age. I think everybody always looks 25. I think that's the age. So everybody's walking around, and you can live forever at the age of 25 if you have more time. And there's also districts where it's a caste system as well. It's a very, very there's a lot of junk in it, but if you want to see a very interesting twist on predictive programming, that's an interesting one to check out. That was from 2011. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Movie from 2009 called Gamer. Now, I definitely do not recommend this movie. I do not. I really don't. That's why I'm going to explain it to you. Gamer is set in a society where people have chips implanted in their heads that allow others to play them. They allow others to play them. So there's two different aspects to this movie on the chip set that they give you. It's a voluntary thing in the movie, but you either have one which is the Sims variation, where basically you're playing a Sims character, you dress them up, you talk to people, you can ride bikes and all that stuff, whatever. But then there's the death row inmates who are offered this in order to be set free. So basically, if you win 5 matches, you can be set free. So if you put the chip in your head and then you allow somebody to play you, and if you win 5 matches, then you get set free. But if you die in the game, you will die for real. We're getting to the point now where this is going to possibly be something that we see. We may not see it while we're here. We may get raptured, but this is definitely something that could take place. I mean, you want to talk about the metaverse, and you want to talk about plugging into things, and you want to talk about, I mean, this is definitely a possibility that they could do. You start putting chips in people's heads and send them out to war. I mean, we're seeing Avatar stuff similar to like what DARPA is doing with their Avatar simulations, where people are getting connected and sending robots out to war. It says they don't do it with humans too. Now, it's interesting. Again, predictive programming. We know Neuralink, BlackRock Neurotech, and Synchron are doing this. Synchron and BlackRock Neurotech already got chips in people's heads. Neuralink is behind it. That doesn't mean much. Things can change very quickly. But they're putting the chips in people's heads. But we're hitting a point now where we can't tell generated realism, like AI created stuff. We talked about the Nerf system a while back, where it's able to take flat pictures and create a 3D environment that looks completely real. But we're getting to the point where we can't do that. And now we're getting to the point where reality is becoming a game. And I'm not kidding you. I've got a video here. This is a video game. This is not like it's even this. You want to talk about deception and confusion. Even trying to explain this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I'm going to show you a video that is a video game, but what they did is they took a camera and strapped it to a real person in real life and recorded this. But you're playing a game where nobody's actually getting killed or anything like that. It's just, you just got to check this out. This is straight up coming from something like Gamer. This is called Unrecord.
Shots fired! Shots fired!
Yeah, so the reason why that looks so realistic is because it's real environments, real people. It's all real. But the gameplay is somebody control. I don't know how they do it. I really don't. But this is a real thing that's being worked on right now. It's called Unrecord. And again, we're getting to the point now where who's to say that all of a sudden you don't start strapping these chips into people's heads and you start controlling them in a real environment. We're getting to that point. We are getting to that point, and it is scary. It is absolutely scary. We don't know what's real. We don't know what's generated. We don't know if people are being controlled by themselves anymore. This is where we're getting at. And now you've got that. At the same time, though, which that's a game, and nobody actually dies for real. Nobody dies for real. It's all a game. But you got somebody who created a VR virtual reality game headset. Man, come on now. That will actually kill the person if they die in the game. I am not kidding you. This dude created a virtual reality headset that is connected to a game. And if you die in said game, you see the 3 little prong things off the top of it. They will shoot rods down into the person's head. I'm not joking you. Now, this thing is not publicly available. You cannot buy it. But when this dude created this system, he actually got hired on by a government agency to work on war technology, which is very, very concerning. So he created something that could murder somebody, but then he got hired on for a government agency. It's amazing how that works, right? But I'm just saying, you're starting to getting into this perspective where, I mean, when you start plugging in, you want to talk about the metaverse and stuff like that. Who's to say that they don't have this stuff loaded where it takes you out? I mean, this is where we're getting now. And Gamer, that movie Gamer, again, I do not recommend watching it. I don't. It's predictive programming, and we're seeing this stuff come to life. Now, I got one last one. We're going to take a little turn from the technology type of stuff like that. We're going to take a look at this. It's a movie from 2020 called Songbird. Now, Songbird, this is interesting. Talking about timing. Think about the timing here. This is a movie that released in 2020, which means they had to be working on it before 2020. It was released in 2020. About a pandemic that ravages the world. And it's about a couple of people that navigate lockdowns, quarantines, martial law, and disease along with the military. Again, it's interesting how they released that in the same year as 2020. But what's very interesting is this movie is set in 2024. It's not set in 2020. And we know something worse is coming than 2020. So again, was that really about the 2020 lockdowns, or was that getting people prepared for possibly something coming in 2024? Now, I'm not predicting something is coming in 2024. I'm not. But what I am saying is it wouldn't surprise me if they're getting people ready for something that they do, or something that does take place in 2024. I got to be careful here. It's just interesting. Predictive programming, guys. Predictive programming is a huge thing, and there's different variations. Like I said, it could be to numb somebody. It could be to desensitize them. It could be to get them on board with an idea or a policy or a change or an event or something like that. It could be a long play where they're getting you prepared for what's coming, convenience, showing you all the cool things that could be done with it, et cetera, et cetera. So predictive programming definitely plays a point. But the whole point of all this, why we talked about all this stuff, to bring it back around, is we're told to not be deceived. We're told to focus on one thing that does not lie and has never been wrong ever once, and that is Scripture. Because we know, as long as we've got Scripture, we know the truth of what's coming. We knew all this stuff is coming. We may not know all the details about how it's going to be here, but everything that we just talked about is all playing a part into what the Bible tells us is coming in the tribulation. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be involved with that. I don't want to be a part of the tribulation. I want nothing to do with that. There's going to be hell on earth, and for those who have Jesus Christ, we don't have to deal with that. We are not destined for the wrath. We are not destined for what's coming in the Great Tribulation. It's a time of Jacob's trouble. The church is not going to be there. That's for the Jews to turn back around towards the true Messiah. And so we get to escape it. And yeah, make fun all you want. All these people like to come out and say, you're an escapist. You believe? Yeah, you're darn tootin' I'm an escapist, because I don't want to be here for that. And that's why we have our blessed hope. The Lord says we're not going to be here for that. Those who have Jesus Christ, the true Jesus Christ, the one and only Son of God in the Bible, and he gives that as a gift for anybody who wants to accept him. Childlike faith. It's a childlike faith, and so he gives you the ABCs of how to accept it. Now, this isn't something where you just believe in a version of Jesus that you want, and then you just repeat some words, repeat the sinner's prayer, and voila, you're saved. No, this is something that's between you and God. This is something that's between you and Jesus. If you truly believe in him, A, is you admit that you're a sinner and you fall short and that you need Jesus Christ, the one and only true Jesus Christ. It's the act of repentance as you're turning around, you know you messed up and you're turning towards Jesus. A, you admit that you're a sinner. B, is you believe in the one and only true Jesus that the Bible tells us about. He is the one who can save. He is the only one who can save. So you believe in him. You believe that he is the one and only Son of God. He came down 100% man, 100% God, lived the perfect life, died on the cross, and defeating death, he rose again on the third day. So if you place your faith in him, you repent from your sins, you turn to him, and you believe in your heart. You believe, you don't know. Knowing and believing are two different things, but if you believe in Jesus Christ, you will be saved. And then C, as you call upon the Lord. This is the prayer between you and Jesus. As you call upon him, you say, Lord Jesus, come into my life and save me. I know that I have sinned. I know that I fall short. I know that I need you, Jesus. And I know that you died on the cross for me and rose again. I call upon you, Lord, come into my life and save me. If you truly believe and you call upon the Lord, you will be saved. And I urge you, if you do not know the Lord right now, that you do that. Skip all of what we just talked about and a whole lot more. It's going to be hell on earth. And that is a decision and a belief that's between you and God, not something that you just repeat to, words that you repeat from an evangelist. It's between you and God. Join the family of God. And if you truly believe and you joined, welcome. You get to escape everything that's coming. So, all right, guys, that's all I got. That's it. Glad you guys could join me. Glad you guys could be here. Hopefully you learned some stuff. I know I did. I always learn a bunch of stuff when I'm getting this stuff prepared. So, but yeah, glad you guys could be here. Glad you guys can join me. So it seems like we had some new people here today. So I was really glad to have you guys here. Hopefully you guys stick around. Hopefully you join the wretched crew. We are just a bunch of wretched sinners who place our faith in Jesus Christ and await his return. That's why we do this. So yeah, glad you guys could be here. Usual spiel though, if you guys can, like, share, subscribe, get this out to as many people as you can. Get this out to, again, it's not about butts and seats. It's not about numbers. It's not about views, but it is about getting the warning out to people, getting people to Jesus and Jesus to people. That's why we do this. Thank you, JD, for that wonderful saying. But yeah, so if you guys can, follow me. If you want to, Rumble, Odyssey, Telegram. Rumble and Odyssey are my backup channels. I know YouTube is going to boot me off eventually. And then Telegram, follow me on there for up-to-date stuff. If I do get booted off, I'll let you know on there. And other things, hymns, funny things, news updates, all that stuff. Sometimes I'll just put a funny thing out there. We got to keep laughing. We got to have some fun. The Lord gave us the gift of humor. We need to continue to use it. And if the Lord places it upon your heart and you would like to support this ministry, I definitely appreciate it. I do have donation links down below, CashApp, Venmo, Give, Send, Go. I definitely appreciate all your support, guys. It helps keep this going. I was able to add a second show each week because of your guys' support, so I thank you for that. But yeah, that's all I got. Any other things? No, I think that's it. So, all right, guys, I'm going to leave you here. You guys have a great night. And if the Lord does not come by Saturday, which, oh man, I pray that he does. Lord Jesus, please come soon. But if he doesn't come by Saturday, same time, same place, I will see you guys here. Yeah, peace out and Maranatha.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.